She's conservative and I'm liberal, and yet we've been friends for almost 40 years. Everyone says you shouldn't discuss politics, religion, or money, and we say that's exactly what friends should be talking about. Join us as we tackle the conversations you're having in your head, but are too scared to say out loud. Hello, Jolene.
Well, hello, Nicole.
Today, we are going to talk about AI. And I was thinking about this and how the hell do we tackle this subject? And I remember that how it started was I had reached out to you and Brianna, our producer, about I had read an article in the Times about Waymo, one of the self-driving cars, and said, oh, this is really interesting. Maybe we should talk about self-driving cars. And then immediately Brianna was like, you guys actually need to talk about AI. And she sent us all of these articles. And one was about how it affects the environment. And one was about that there's a possible AI bubble. And then one that there's like a code red that we need to be the forefront of AI in the United States. And then she sent us those links, and I'll put all these links in the show notes so everybody knows how this even began. And we might not even talk about this stuff, I'm not sure. But then she showed us the links about Neo, the home robot.
Okay, and here's what's interesting is I was at a trade show. This was a year ago, and they were talking about, really it was about trends. And so like food trends and the way that people eat and snack. And I mean, it was really talking about, trends in general. But the last thing on this slide that this presentation was this guy talking about the robots and how right now in 2025, again, this was a year ago, at the beginning of 2025, to buy a personal robot. And I'm talking a robot who looks like a human, is built like a human, the same size as a human, and has arms and legs and a body and a head. You can buy one right now for $50,000 or $60,000. But within the next 7 to 8 years, that this will be a common thing that people purchase. And he said it will be more in the $8,000 to $10,000 range. And so he was talking about, he had this video of the testing that they're doing with these robots now, and how that AI is able to develop a mechanism within these robots that the robots can work together. So it showed, it showed 2 robots that were unpacking groceries in a kitchen, on a kitchen counter. And the one robot who was closest to the refrigerator was putting the refrigerated things in there. The other robot was putting things in the pantry, and how these two were working together. So if the robot that was closest to the pantry had a refrigerated item in his sack, handed it to the other robot to put it in the refrigerator. I mean, that's how advanced this technology is developing and how quickly it's developing. And, at the time I saw this, I thought, this is great for somebody. I think of my mom, somebody who wants to live at home, but maybe, needs somebody around every once in a while. My gosh, we could spend $8,000 on a robot that could alert us if something happens, if she falls, or someone to help around the house. You think about all the great things that really could come from this artificial intelligence that we're embarking on right now. So I think it's exciting.
It's interesting because I had seen this Neo robot, and there's a long way to go. And Ronnie Chang, I found that the comedian did a segment on the Neo and watching it, trying to, load the dishwasher, and how it took like 5 minutes and it was falling on the ground, and they had someone in the next room actually being the robot, and just the invasion of privacy that one needs to be okay with in order to use this technology. It might be good to actually define what AI is. AI is a catch-all term for a group of technologies that superficially mimic human thinking, which I find to be a really interesting starting point. Within that, human beings are fallible. And so we as human beings are also asking technology and expecting technology to be right all the time when human beings aren't. And the AI is gathering all this information, whether it be the robot that might help your mom with kitchen duties, or it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Because when you first say that to me, I think to myself, oh, now we're putting someone out of a job that could be a caregiver. There is nothing like human connection. Yes, there can be human annoyances. Your mom could hate the caregiver. The caregiver could hate your mom. There is that possibility. I totally understand that. But there is also that possibility of a deep friendship and a deep love, which we're finding in some of the research that I've done, and I'm not sure about you, about like, I listened to this podcast. It was an NPR, a liberal station. It was called Studio 1A, and it was called AI and Emotional Intimacy. And they had people talking about that it's a common factor these days that you don't have to have any sort of weakness, that it's built for humans to go through AI delusional spirals where they get attached to that sycophantic behavior and they might fall in love. I mean, you've heard, there's been some horrible stories where teenagers have actually committed suicide through talking to their AI bot. We talked about this off camera about how there was this woman in Japan who broke up with her fiance and married her AI bot.
Oh, God.
And I'm very curious, Jolene, because I want to talk about this, because I know that you and I are so different. And I don't know if it's a conservative, liberal thing, a Democrat, Republican thing. I think it might just be a Nicole and Jolene thing, but I think it's an interesting thing. Because I had never used one AI thing until we did this podcast. I downloaded ChatGPT and worked with Gemini, and then Josh helped him with this one called Claude. Like, I'd never used this for anything. And I think that this is part of your daily life.
I don't know that I would say daily. My girls use it constantly.
What do they use it for?
God, this is such a great example. We moved Bobby from Tampa, Florida to Austin, Texas, and like in a moving truck.
Okay.
And we get into the moving truck, and I just know that the transmission is getting ready to go out. So Bobby's in the car behind me. Bobby and Jeff are in the car behind me. I'm driving the truck. I call them and I say, Jeff, when you were driving this, do you feel like the transmission was kind of wonky? Like, I kind of feel like transmission's getting ready to go out. And he said, well, what's it doing? And I said, well, I feel like it's kind of skipping a gear, and you go up, it's like, when you go uphill, it was like it kind of revved and then it found the gear and da-da-da-da-da. Bobby is putting it into ChatGPT. So she says, if you're driving a rental truck from Penske, and I think she even put, a 16-foot rental truck from Penske, and you feel like the transmission is going out, is this a common problem? And Chat comes back and says, not a problem. This is a common thing that happens. And it's because it's got a big load, and these trucks get a lot of use, and blah, blah, blah. And totally, and then she reads it, and we're like, oh, okay, then it's not that big of a deal. The next morning, then, we get in the truck, start the engine. The check engine light comes on. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, we have got an entire apartment now in the back. This thing's going out. And I'm worried this thing's going out when we are going to be on I-10 over the Atchafalaya River Basin, where it's, crocodiles underneath us. And it's going to, I'm thinking worst case scenario. Bobby puts it into Chat and says, hey, now on the truck, I mean, you can continue this thread. Now she just says, now the moving truck's check engine light has come on. Should we pull over? And you know what it says to her? Bobby, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Like, it was this emotional response. It wasn't just, here are the facts, here. It was, Bobby, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Unless the light is flashing, it may just need an oil change. Not a problem. If everything else, and it kind of goes through, is it doing this? Is it doing this? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? And it kind of goes through all these things, and it says, keep on your trip. I think it's going to be fine. And to me, I think Bobby has spoken to Chat so many times. They know that she's a naturally anxious person, and that she's probably, if she uses this 10 times a day going, I found a bump on my left toe. Do I have cancer? I mean, those are the kind of things that, that I think it has recognized through her use that this is the response that she needs. So she'll even at some point say, are you just saying this to be nice to me, or is this really, or is this real? And it'll say, no, and here are the facts to back it up. So it is so intuitive that it's like a human being. It's like a human connection. So I get it.
I've heard from the research that I was doing that the more you use it, it caters to who you are, what your personality is, what you're searching for. And they were actually saying that in order for it to actually not get too personal, because you're more apt to then, you have the possibility of, they call it these delusional spirals, because you're actually humanizing the robot that is just going off of cues that you've already given, and that it can be dangerous in terms of like these kids that ended up killing themselves, or you're relying emotionally, you don't have friends, you're using that they were suggesting that you turn off the memory features on OpenAI and ChatGPT, and it will then not do that. So it will be more straightforward. So I thought that was something to actually bring up to people, because I know nothing of nothing, but now I'm learning, right? But that is a way to make it more informational and less personal. Though I do know from the research that I did that ChatGPT created a new version, and people got really mad because it wasn't personal anymore, and they wanted to revert to ChatGPT 4.0, which was more personal. So people are enjoying that touch. Now, this is funny, Jolene, because I downloaded ChatGPT. We're trying to repaint our bedroom in Utah. And I was like, okay, ChatGPT, this is what I want. This is the vibe I want. And it started, and it immediately was like, oh my God, you're so smart. Oh my God, sexy's the way to go. And I'm looking at my phone going, what the actual F is happening here? Like, ew. And so then they're like, and I'm like, I want Benjamin Moore paints. And they're like, oh, such a great choice. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is so dumb. And so they give me these colors, and I first think, right on. This will be done, no problem, so fast. I'm going to go to the Ace Hardware, I'm going to get the samples, I'm going to put it on the wall, and I do it, and I'm like, this is the ugliest color combination I've ever seen. What is happening? No. So then I go again, and they're like, oh, I understand. You want it more like this. And I go back to the Ace Hardware. I come back, I put it on the wall. I'm like, this doesn't work either. Like, what is happening? So then I'm like, maybe I'll use Gemini. I hear the kids are using Gemini. So I go on Gemini, and they're even more clueless. They're giving me like bright fuchsia and all. And I'm like, what is, and then I'm trying to feed Gemini, like, what do you think about opulence for the ceiling? And they're like, oh, having an opulent vibe. I'm like, no, the color. Like, I'm having to feed, and it's like a complete disaster. There was a part of me that was truly like so trusting in the first 5 minutes. And I even would write them, this is totally wrong, or this is totally ugly. And they're like, oh, sorry about that. But I was so ready for it to be just right. But I didn't like the sycophant nature of it. I found it creepy. I was like, you're a robot, dude. You're a robot.
Right. It's interesting. I mean, I think that it can use its powers for good and not for evil. I feel like we are in a race with China at this point for AI. And I think Trump sees that. And I think that is something that I think he's hyper aware of, because he's so competitive that he does not want the Chinese to get a leg up on us in this race. China doesn't care about the environment. China doesn't care about the water usage for, these mega power plants that were needed to fuel the electricity for, these super mega computers. That's probably going to be the biggest battle, I would think, that we are going to have as a nation, is how much is enough to give us the leg up in terms of progress and, funding microchip companies, and, how much of that are we going to allow versus the ramifications of this from an environmental standpoint. I mean, that's just going to be the bottom line. That's the fight that we've been having over solar and wind and nuclear and coal. And so it's good. That conversation is going to continue with AI.
I mean, I feel like if we're going to make it like talk about it politically, with Trump, I don't know why he has such an aversion to that. He thinks the windmills are ugly and the soul. I don't get it, because we were already going. So there's a lot of these farms in states that are Republican and doing really good stuff, and reading what I've been reading about these AI centers and combining it with that technology is really beneficial in terms of making it more sustainable. There are two thoughts, Jolene. I've never been to China, and maybe this is so kumbaya of me, but I don't know if China doesn't care about the environment. I think maybe the Chinese government doesn't care about the environment.
No, I'm sure that's fair.
And that's where I get a little bit with Trump, because I don't think Trump cares about the environment either. And maybe, or let's say, I'm going to give him a little grace. I'm going to say that that's not the top of his priorities, that his priority is to win the AI race at whatever cost. That's my impression.
I think it's fair to say that you have to outweigh the benefits versus what the costs are.
Yeah.
And when we talk about AI, I would assume that Trump thinks that he's got to win this to be progressive in terms of this technology. And the cost of that is going to be, doesn't matter. If it's the loss of jobs, let's retrain people. Let's let the private sector determine what that job retraining looks like. Let's, instead of using the government money for saying, whether we're going to subsidize people who've lost their jobs because, AI has taken it, let's retrain at, starting at an elementary level of what are those jobs that are going to be useful for AI. I mean, let's start doing that now.
Well, I think, Jolene, too, like one of the issues is that it's going so fast that the humans, we can't catch up. We are so far behind as to try to figure out how do we move forward. For instance, I'm going to give you an example. So as you know, Josh is a lawyer, and there are several AI tools now. One is called Legora and one is called Harvey. I think it's funny when they're named people names. They're trying to figure out how to use these tools. And in some ways, and very early on, and it's still happening, lawyers are getting in trouble because they will use these tools. They will not review their work. It's usually smaller firms, but it totally depends, where they will go to court and they will cite cases that do not exist.
Oh.
It's not helpful in that regard because you can't rely on it. You have to still do the work. You have to review and all of those things. But he also explained to me that when you're a baby lawyer, when you're a first-year lawyer, your job consists of reviewing. It used to be paper, and now it's everything is scanned, and you're reviewing cases and you're reviewing documents, and your partner might give you words to flag, and then so you're trying to condense this thing. And these AI tools sometimes can give a report back literally in minutes, where the first year would take days. So because of that, they have this knowledge. So how do you train that lawyer to move forward? There's some really great things about AI, for sure. But it's like, I would agree with you, Joe, that okay, we really need to think bigger about this, more creatively about this. Like, okay, y'all, this isn't going away. So what do we do about it? Let's be forward thinking is, I guess, what I want to say. Like, law firms need to think, okay, this is happening. Maybe we need to change our model because they charge by the hour. Well, that's archaic.
Yeah.
It's not going to work anymore. So how are they going to make money and do the best they can for their clients? If jobs are being replaced, I think being ahead at AI is not just being in Trump's idea of like being the best at AI. We need to be the best of, well, what does that societally look like?
Right. 100%. I agree. I think part of this is going to be, which I found ironic as I researched this. Right now, states themselves are developing laws that are to some degree regulating the AI by state. And what Trump wants to do is federalize these laws so that a liberal state, let's say California or Colorado, isn't able to write a law that is restrictive and use that as precedence then for all the states, which I really found ironic, because isn't that just the opposite of, states' rights?
Oh my God,
But,
oh girl, I love you so much. I'm so glad, because I'm just like, wait, that's the opposite of what
right?
Republicans
Exactly.
believe in, right?
That's exactly right. So it's interesting how this has kind of shifted the way that they're thinking about the rules long term with AI and how to develop the rules and regulations. I still see it being anti-regulation, which is a conservative theory.
Meaning,
But
Jolene, what do you mean that you see it anti, or you would like it? What do you mean by that?
I still see from the articles that I read that it's still being, less regulations are better. Let's let the private sector regulate this as new tools develop, or as we see the usage in whether it's law or medicine or, healthcare, to really kind of federalize some of these laws right now. If states start coming up with laws to regulate AI, and they're using that as precedents as they're trying to regulate then federally,
Okay.
then it's going to be harder for them to come up with state, federal regulations. So I think Trump's trying to get ahead of that by developing, asking Congress to let's develop some rules initially, like let's get on the ball with this now before we get so many regulations at several states, specifically liberal states, that then will be harder for us to deregulate this on a federal basis.
Isn't that the state of America, that it's always been this sort of push and pull with state rights versus federal rights? Because I know, like California, for instance, Ezra Klein with his book Abundance, like California gets so bogged down in regulation that very little gets built and done. And then there are places like Texas that have less and they get some stuff done. But they were talking about, it was a podcast where it was a Taiwanese company and they were making AI chips in Arizona. It was a Biden project. Taiwan came in and it was going to be this huge thing and create like thousands and thousands of jobs for Americans and Arizonians. But because the Taiwanese, I think, are the top AI producers, and they're trying to do it fast, and they're not quite training the Americans yet. And I mean, it all made so much sense listening to the story of like the Taiwanese have a way that they do it, which is very different than Americans. You don't have to be liberal or Democrat. We want to understand, we want to have our rights, we want to feel empowered. And that these people are coming in trying to get these company in place to build these chips.
Microchips, yeah.
Right? And how in order for them to do it more efficiently, the Taiwanese were speaking Chinese. And so the Americans felt left out. And then they're like, why are you taking our jobs? And nothing, it's just stalled. And that's a red state. It's such a difficult dance to get stuff done.
But think about this. This has been the most innovative development since the computer, right? I mean, think about when else have we developed something? When was the last time that we developed something that was so on the cusp of beyond what we can even imagine? Isn't that the whole thing with AI? It's beyond what we can even imagine. So it's so hard to regulate it and develop laws and
we have no idea
systems.
what we're in for. Let's think about like the telephone. Like there's been different inventions in our history of our world that have changed the game. And you and I and everyone on this planet in 2026 is in this moment in time where we don't have any idea where this is going to go. And because of that, too, there's a lot of fear. I think liberals tend to be more fearful and more cautious. Maybe that's not true. I'm not sure. I think of it as an artist. It's already taken a lot of my jobs away. Like, so what do you do now? Like, there's so many voiceovers that are AI. There's these AI actors that agents are fighting for, and you're sort of like, wait a minute, hold on. What about the artists? Like we are the storytellers. We are there to help create the human experience so that everyone has a place to like either escape or emote or take a rest, and that's going to be gone. Well, it's not going to be gone. We have to figure out a new way to do something.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
So it is that. And this is a side note, but I got to tell you. So in my research, whenever we have a new topic, the first thing I do, because I love podcasts, is I'm like, okay, what's going on in podcasts with AI? So I put because I listen to the Apple. So I plug in like, how is AI affecting the environment? Because that was definitely a concern for me, whether that's liberal or not, I don't know. So it came up with like a list of, 15. And what caught my eye was one that said, it was called The Cost of Intelligence, episode 32 or something. AI's hidden environmental and human toll. I'm like, okay, great. So I press play and I start listening. There are two hosts, a guy and a girl. And I'm listening and I'm like, their voices kind of sound weird. And I keep listening and I'm like, wait, she's saying aha, and he hasn't even finished his sentence. Like, none of this is making any sense. And then it's going on and on and on. I'm like, I don't understand what they're talking about. I like Google, like, who are these hosts? And they're like, they're AI. It's an AI podcast. That's what it was. And I was like, wait a minute. So the AI is talking about the AI cost of the human toll. But I also felt a little happy that I could see that I was like, okay, at least right now, this is not working. And Jolene, it was so fucking boring. I was like, I can't. Like, this is so boring. I got to move on. But I was also very naive. I didn't know that there were AI podcasts.
Have you heard the country song, the AI country song?
And it's a huge hit, right?
It's a huge hit.
Yes.
And I played it for Jeff. And I didn't tell him it was AI. I go, hey, I just found the song. What do you think of it? And I played it. And he goes, God, that's really good. And I go, it's AI. He goes, no, it's not. And I go, yes, it truly is.
Yeah, there's a couple out there like that.
And you're going,
and they're
okay.
good. They're catchy.
Yeah. But it is funny because if you listen closely, he doesn't take a breath.
I know, exactly.
Like as you are like
yes.
singing along with it, and then you're going, and you would take a breath here, and he just keeps singing. You're going, oh, hell, I can't sing with it because there's
right.
no breaths.
There you go. So you need humans so you can sing along. It's true. I record auditions every day for voiceover stuff, and you have breath. And and I'm editing takes to send to my agents, there is a sense of like, oh wait, I got to keep some of my breaths in because when someone asks for conversational, that's how we sound.
Can they develop AI then to sound more human? Take a breath.
Chances are that they will because, as we said at the beginning, the definition of AI is mimicking human thinking, and I would think human behavior. The more information they get, the more human they might get. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a moment in time. It won't be a permanent moment. Well, nothing is permanent, but that there might be like books, music, film. You can't do it with theater, and I'm very grateful for that, but that there will be like a stamp in the corner that says human made. Because I do think with this, because it just makes sense. Like we are all like AI crazy right now, and that the pendulum will swing back and say, I just want something human, even if it's flawed and messy and disagrees with me. I just need that. I can't have this robot telling me how great I am all the time.
If it enhances our lives as the computers have, as the cell phones have, you're right. I think it plays an important part.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the Waymos?
Oh my God, please.
So being in Austin, moving Bobby, they're everywhere.
Did you go on one?
We didn't, just because we were in a hurry every time that we were
because that's the
doing
time
something.
I went. I was in Austin last spring,
in Austin? Yeah.
and I went in a Waymo.
But I think just a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it in
San Francisco.
And I can't remember that it went through a bus, a stopped bus.
No, I don't know about
Okay.
this.
So I don't know where so I'm not sure where it was. It didn't recognize that a bus had stopped on the opposite side of the road for kids, a school bus for kids to get off. And it went right by. No, it was on, because I remember seeing a video. It was on the same side and it went around it, or maybe it was a 2-lane and it went by it. I don't think anybody was hurt.
Okay. It says there were multiple incidences in late 2025 where Waymo's self-driving robotaxis illegally passed stopped school buses with flashing lights in Atlanta and Austin, leading to a federal investigation and a voluntary software recall by Waymo to fix the issue, as their system failed to recognize and obey school bus safety laws endangering children. But it doesn't say that anyone got hurt, thankfully.
Obviously, as this technology develops, there's going to be situations. And I've also heard that Waymo doesn't have the ability that if a truck is double parked on a side street, it doesn't have the ability to go around knowing that truck is, offloading its cargo and, it's going to be there for 15 minutes. And people are sitting in there going, no, go around.
Well, it's funny that you say that.
They can't.
Exactly. Is that the weekend of December 20th, 21st, there was, I don't know if you heard about this, there was this huge power outage in San Francisco.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And there's tons of Waymos in San Francisco. And thankfully, there were no injuries, no deaths, but there was this massive power outage, and all the Waymos stopped because the stoplights were stopped. So it took days for the tow trucks to get these Waymos out. They created incredible traffic jams because the humans were like, "Oh my God, move the Waymos," and they immediately went back to fix the issue. It seems like Waymo is doing a really good job. I did notice that they are testing in New York now, which will be really, really interesting. I was always completely against self-driving cars. And actually years ago, and I don't care if it comes out now, it was pre-COVID. I was in auditions to be a voice. I don't think it was of Waymo. And I didn't know how I felt about it. I mean, it would have been cool to be like, turn right, have a great day, or whatever, right? But I also was like, I don't know how I feel about self-driving cars. And then when we were in Austin last spring, and I'd never been to Austin, it was like, oh my gosh, there's so many self-driving cars. So Josh and I were like, should we try one? And we were going to the LBJ library. And we got in the car, and it's really quiet and cozy, and you get in the back and it says hello to you. And at first I'm like, and they're like, make sure that you're fastened seatbelt. And it's sort of like, and what music do you want? And I'm thinking, oh my God. But within 30 seconds, I felt safer than I felt in any car, because there's so many cameras everywhere on this car, and they don't drive like maniacs. Like when you are out in the world. We did have a funny thing that we got in to the parking lot where we were going to be dropped off. And there was a guy sort of taking money to park because there was a football game. And Waymo had none of it, and went around and kept driving. And we thought it was funny, but no one was around to he was like, yeah. I'm done. I got to drop these people off at the museum. They have history to learn. And it was actually kind of awesome. And my feeling now has changed about it, because I would like Waymo to be in New York, because the driving in New York has gotten so insane. It feels so dangerous and unhinged that it would be nice.
Would it have to be all converted over to Waymo?
I mean, yes, and it's not going to happen. And I mean, it'll be an interesting experiment, that's for sure, to see if it could actually work in New York City. But I was just reading about, because Josh brought my attention, there was an article in the New York Times. So there were 9 companies in China who had self-driving cars, and they would suppress their accidents. And there was an accident in late March of last year where these 3 students were killed. So they actually have pulled back, talk about regulating. Like they're just like, no. And I don't know if it's because it was found out that it was made public and now the world knows. I'm not quite sure. But all to say that they have, it's now, they're only letting 2 companies move forward, and it's all about testing and not roll out, that they are slowing down their roll. There's always the hope that people want people to be safe and not just make a lot of money.
We would hope.
Liberal,
One would hope.
liberal talk. Is there anything that piqued your interest in what Brianna sent us, or anything that was surprised you or made you worried or anything? I mean, one thing in this conversation that we're having that you brought up that I find really curious is that you're right. Like, we had the computer, we had the cell phone. These things, these innovations happen so fast, and humans are just so flawed that we can't catch up, and we don't tend to learn from our mistakes. And so where I would like is that we get really creative in thinking about not just the doom and gloom of, oh, it's going to take over. Like, how do we maximize this experience?
But I think we do learn from our mistakes, because I look at the cell phone, and, look how we are now shifting gears about how everybody needed to have a cell phone. And now we're shifting and we're saying, okay, kids under 16, maybe that is bad for them. And we're developing these studies that, are proving that cell phones aren't good for kids. So
I would agree with you. I guess I wish we would learn faster. I'd wish that we would, because we've affected a whole generation of children.
But didn't it happen with a computer? Like, kids were able to look at porn really easily. I feel like we are learning, and as we have a comprehensive view of how humans work, we are so much more in tune to brain health now, and the importance of sleep, and I mean all of these things that have really, I think, within the last 10 years that we have learned about the human body. And my gosh, you and I have talked about menopause and the things that really affect us physically as human beings, and emotionally and mentally. And don't you think then we are continuing this education of how does this affect us as humans, and to use these powers for good and not for evil, and develop, the programs that allow us to learn more about the human body.
I mean, listen, Jolene, I agree with you that I think we could use this tool in a very positive way, not as Americans, as a world tool. I want to acknowledge that we are in a society, and it's not just an American thing, where a lot of people are catering to their board of directors. They're not looking at how it can make our human experience better. It's more about how is it going to make them money. So that's the point.
Yeah, but is that changed? I mean, that's always been the case.
No, it hasn't. What I'm saying to you, Jolene, is I'd like it to. Doing this podcast, I'm learning like how to be more realistic. And maybe that's a Republican thing. I don't really know. Maybe it's not political at all. But it's just sort of like, okay, here is this thing that we are creating that is going faster than the speed of light. And how do we catch up? And how do we make this benefit people versus deprive people? Or, how do we make this not strip the planet of its resources and help flourish in a different way? Or make us a better planet, make us a better... And I also understand that it's not just an American thing. Like, it is a global thing. And if we're not all on the same page, and how the hell are we all going to get on the same page? This is a huge planet. We've
got to be first. America first.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. And listen, listener, viewer, this is a huge topic. And I'm sure we will revisit this. And if you guys have any suggestions or any questions or any ideas, any thoughts, any solutions, any fears, please comment on YouTube, DM us on Instagram. Like, this is a big conversation, and I think it takes all of us to talk about it, to explore ideas and solutions, and not pit each other against each other.
100%. I
Yeah.
mean, that is the common goal, is
Yeah.
that we all are here to try to make this world a better place. And if we have AI to thank for that, or if AI is going to be the demise of humanity, I mean, that's the two schools of thought right now.
And I think I would suggest that we could look at it more as a partnership. And how do we not just give our power away, but understand that we are these smart, creative, innovative minds as human beings. And the only reason AI exists is because we exist. So how do we work together? If they're mimicking what we do, how do we work together? Stop giving your power away and let's figure out how to do this together.
As you say, a kumbaya moment.
Do you have a would you rather, my dear?
Yes. Do you?
I do. I was like, what am I going to ask her? And then I was like, wait, I got to put it in ChatGPT. You did that once.
I did that,
And
yeah.
I have to say, you're way funnier. You're way funnier.
You didn't like it.
I didn't
Yeah.
like it. Then
Okay.
I did it again. I did it in ChatGPT several times. And I'm like, they're not funny. They're really not funny. But then Josh uses one called Claude. Again, another human name. I'd never heard of Claude. Claude gave me a funny one.
Maybe Claude is funny.
So, here we go. You ready?
Okay.
This is
Yes.
from Claude to Jolene. Would you rather discover that every person you've ever slept with has a group chat where they rate your performance with detailed PowerPoint presentations, or find out your dad has been writing erotic friend fiction about your friend group, and it's actually pretty good?
That's horrible.
Let me just say thank you, Claude. Thank you, Claude.
Gosh.
Do you need me to repeat it?
No. No, I do not. I guess I would have to choose the first one.
You'd rather have the PowerPoint presentation and rating your performance?
Yeah, than having my father like write about it? Yes. God, that's horrible. Well, mine wasn't nearly as naughty.
Okay.
Would you rather have an AI robot that is your personal trainer,
Okay.
or is your personal chef?
Oh, personal chef. Hands down.
Oh, seriously?
Listen, I love Lindsay. Shout out to Lindsay. She makes me strong and she's my friend. I'm so grateful for like our conversations and the inspiration and the encouragement. I would not give her up. And Josh cooks a lot. He's really good. And I help him, but he's really the main cook. And I do think he enjoys it, but it would certainly be nice that would be nice to not have to think about that. Maybe he would not like it very much, but we get to do other things. So yeah, personal chef. Okay. I'm assuming because you love cooking.
Yeah, I wouldn't want somebody to take that joy away from me. But if there was somebody like I wouldn't like that just did, I mean, it was my personal trainer right there. Wouldn't that be great?
Well, listen, it would. I mean, to be fair, it would, and you'd pay for it
if you
once.
didn't love Lindsay so
right.
much.
Listen,
yes.
I would be thrilled because you'd have access to that person all the time, and
yeah,
and I like working out, and it's harder to get motivated, quite frankly. I've been really unmotivated this week. Just tired.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, listener and viewer. And please follow, like, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're interested in being a sponsor, we would love to have you sponsor We've Got to Talk. Just go to our website, we'vegotttotalk.com, and contact us, and we'll get right back to you. Do you have any other thoughts, Jolene?
You said it all.
All right, doll. I love you. Feel better.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Bye. We've Got to Talk is produced across the world by the wildly talented, creative, and hilarious team at Bambi Media. Our theme song is Jump Jive Swing by Space Train Unlimited. Thank you so much for listening, and join us every week for another episode of We've Got to Talk.